In a sprawling city nestled between vast mountains and the ocean, there lived a man named Prophet Kaod, who was known far and wide for his miraculous powers. People from all over the world flocked to his grand temple, desperate for healing, wealth, or protection. Kaod claimed he had been chosen by the gods themselves to perform miracles, and his reputation grew with every supposed blessing and healing he performed. He was hailed as a savior, a man who could cure incurable diseases, restore sight to the blind, and even raise the dead. The sick and the desperate would travel for miles, paying exorbitant fees just to receive a touch from his hands or a sip of his holy water. Kaod lived in luxury, his temple adorned with gold and marble, while his followers believed he was the key to their salvation. But behind the miracles and holy facade, a much darker truth lurked in the shadows. Kaod's powers did not come from the divine. Instead, he had made a pact with a powerful entity from the underworld, a pact that required frequent blood sacrifices to sustain his abilities. These weren't just any sacrifices. They had to be human blood, and the younger and purer the blood, the stronger his magic became. Every few years, when his powers began to wane, Kaod would secretly carry out his dark rituals, taking the lives of innocent victims to renew his strength. For decades, his dark deeds remained hidden. Those who went missing were quickly forgotten, their disappearances explained away as accidents or kidnappings. No one dared to question the great prophet Kaod. His wealth and influence stretched across nations, and even the authorities turned a blind eye to his suspicious activities. But as time went on, Kaod grew more reckless and arrogant. His greed for power surpassed even his desire for secrecy. One day, when his powers began to fade again, he sought to perform the ritual on a much grander scale. He targeted the children of prominent families, innocent boys and girls who were adored by the public. This time, his arrogance would be his downfall. One evening, as the moon hung full and heavy in the sky, Kaod prepared for his darkest ritual yet. Deep in the heart of his temple, in a secret chamber hidden behind layers of stone, he had captured 5 children. Their hands were bound, and their terrified cries echoed in the cold, dark room. As Kaod stood before his sacrificial altar, chanting in a strange and guttural language, he raised a gleaming dagger in preparation for the first kill. But unknown to him, a young woman named Neka, a devout follower who had once been healed by Kaod, had grown suspicious. Over the years, she had begun to notice that many who came seeking miracles never returned. Her curiosity had led her to investigate Kaod's past, and what she found shook her to her core. The so-called miracles were nothing but illusions, staged to deceive the masses, while the real power behind Kaod's fame came from the blood of innocents. Neka, disguised as one of Kaod's temple servants, had secretly followed him to his hidden chamber that night. As she watched in horror from the shadows, Kaod began the ritual. Just as he was about to plunge the dagger into the chest of the first child, Neka screamed, "Stop!" Her voice echoed through the chamber, startling Kaod and causing the dagger to slip from his hand. The children's cries intensified as Kaod turned to see Neka, eyes blazing with rage and fear.
"Who dares interrupt the ritual?"
he bellowed, his voice filled with malice. Neka stepped forward, her hands trembling but her resolve unwavering.
Your reign of darkness ends tonight, Kaod. I know what you've done. You're no prophet, you're a murderer.
Kaod's face twisted in fury, his eyes glowing a sickly yellow as he advanced on her.
"You dare challenge me, girl? Do you think anyone will believe your lies?"
But Neka had not come alone. Behind her, a group of village elders and guards, who had been tipped off by Neka, stormed into the chamber armed and ready. The guards quickly seized the terrified children, leading them to safety while the elders confronted Kaod. Realizing he had been exposed, Kaod roared in fury, summoning the dark magic that had sustained him for so long. His body began to twist and contort, transforming into a monstrous figure with sharp claws and glowing red eyes. He lunged at the elders, hoping to kill them before they could spread the truth. But the elders, having prepared for his dark powers, chanted an ancient incantation, trapping Kaod in a circle of salt and binding him with ropes blessed by the village's ancestral spirits. The villagers dragged him out of the temple, where a crowd had gathered, waiting to see the holy prophet for what he truly was. As the morning sun began to rise, Kaod was paraded through the streets, his once majestic robes torn and his face a mask of horror. The people who had once revered him now spat on him, cursing his name. Kaod was brought to the town square, where the elders delivered their judgment.
You, who have deceived and murdered our children, will face the same fate as those you have wronged.
And so, in front of the very people he had betrayed, Kaod was hanged. As his lifeless body swung from the gallows, the sky above darkened, and a great storm began to brew, as if nature itself was purging the evil that had plagued the land for so long. And as for Neka, she was hailed as a hero, the one who had exposed the false prophet and saved the children. Her bravery was celebrated for generations, and the people of the village, now free from Kaod's shadow, lived in peace once more.